Hello, my name is Natalie Gordon, and I am a school trust specialist with the Utah State Board of Education. This is an introduction to school community councils. The purpose of school community councils is threefold: to build consistent, effective collaboration and communication among parents, employees, and administrators, to provide a forum for parents to be actively involved with the school in their children's education, and to identify academic needs and implement interventions that will measurably improve student performance. School community councils were designed by the legislature to be parent-focused. The principal serves on the council and is not elected. The principal is a voting member and is the only appointed member of the council. Other council members are elected. School employee members must be employed at the school and are elected by school employees, and parent or guardian members must have children at the school at least one of the 2 years of their term. They may not hold an educator license and work at the school, and they are elected by the parents and guardians in the school community. Council membership must include the principal and at least one school employee. Because the councils are parent-focused, there must be a 2-parent majority. So if you have the principal and one school employee, you will need 4 parent members. The size is determined by the council and must be stated in the Rules of Order and Procedure. Member terms are 2 years, and the terms are staggered, so you will be electing half of your parents every year to 2-year terms. The district sets the election schedule, and the election should be held either in the spring and completed before the last week of the school year or near the beginning of the school year. The time of the election must be consistent for at least 4 consecutive years. If you're holding your election in the spring, incoming parents for the next school year must be allowed to participate. Elections are held at the school, and electronic elections are only permissible when the district has established a secure electronic election policy. 10 days prior to the election, the principal should notice the election with the dates and times, and also with the number of open positions and how to file. The principal oversees the election. The election must be held with a secret ballot, and results of the election are available on request. After the elections, the council meets to fill unfilled positions. School employees on the council fill school employee positions, and parents or guardians on the council fill parent positions. If there were not more candidates than the number of seats available, an election is not necessary. And if someone resigns during their term, a new council member should be appointed to fulfill the rest of that term. Every year in the first meeting, the entire council elects their officers for the year. The chair is elected from parent members. The vice chair may be a parent or employee member of the council, and principals cannot serve as officers. Best practices to be effective and efficient in your council is to make sure that your elected chair sets the agenda, conducts the meeting, uses a yearly timeline, brings the rules of order and procedure for review and adoption annually, and delegates understanding the other council members' strengths. School community councils have 4 major responsibilities. They include mandatory data review to identify critical academic needs, consulting with the principal on the teacher and student success plan, preparing and implementing the school and trust plan, and additional responsibilities related to digital citizenship and school safety. Councils are required to do a mandatory data review to identify critical academic needs. State Board Rule R277477 states that parents, teachers, and the principal, in collaboration with the local board, shall review school-wide assessment data annually and use school and trust program funds in data-driven and evidence-based ways to improve educational outcomes. Some school data can be found at datagateway.schools.utah.gov. I'm going to talk you through one school's data. This This is a high school, and the data on Data Gateway will compare its scores with other schools that are similar to this school in demographics and size. This school's mathematics scores show that 56.3% of their students are proficient and that an even greater 65% are showing the required growth. These scores rank high compared with other schools that are similar. If you were reviewing this data, you might not think the school needed a mathematics school. But let's take a look at the language arts data. This school, when compared to other schools, doesn't do quite as well with the percentage of students that are proficient in language arts. And you can see that 43% of students are proficient and that 50% of students are making the required growth. If I was on this council, I would want to look at a language arts school for this school. Some of the things to remember are to look at both proficiency and growth, and to ask the principal for more information on grade levels and subgroups so you can focus the interventions if needed. Please remember that a council should never review student-specific information. The council is also required to consult with the principal on the teacher and student success plan. The principal shall solicit input on developing the success plan from the school community council, school-level educators, parents of students at the school, and school-level administrators. Please make sure that you use the data that you have reviewed when consulting with the principal. The council also prepares and implements the School Land Trust Plan. Parents and teachers and the principal, in collaboration with the local school board, shall review school-wide assessment data annually and use School Land Trust program funds in data-driven and evidence-based ways to improve educational outcomes. These include strategies that are measurable and show academic outcomes with multi-tiered systems of support, and counselors and educators working with students and families on academic and behavioral issues when a direct impact on academic achievement can be measured. Remember, expenditures are required to have a direct impact on the instruction of students in the school's identified areas of most critical academic need. Let's take a look at this school. After completing the required data review, they identified a critical academic need in mathematics and decided that their goal would be that students would show 5% growth on the end-of-year summative mathematics assessment. Because they've identified the assessment in their goal, they know what to use as their academic measurement. Then they take a look at what they need to implement to be successful. Those are the action plan steps. And then the expenditures relate directly to the action plan in saying what needs to be purchased to fill this action plan. If you are using a shopping list and not starting with your required data review, your plan will not have measurable academic goals based on your critical academic needs. Please make sure that you begin with the required data review. Councils also have responsibilities related to digital citizenship and school safety. We've found that a best practice is to combine the discussions. The district would provide information and a report on digital citizenship and school safety. The council can address if annual student training in digital citizenship is adequate or if there's additional needs that the council should address. The council also should address if parents have adequate training available to them. Then, regarding safety principles, the council should discuss what they can do within their purview to implement safety principles in the school and create and implement a plan. To create and implement a school safety plan, begin by asking administrators, counselors, school employees, and other parents what their greatest concerns are. See if the current requirements in the law are being implemented, and ask how could councils help resolve concerns identified in the report by school personnel and parents? An elementary school in my neighborhood is using their safety plan to address safe walking routes to school. A middle school in my neighborhood is using their safety plan to discuss electronic devices in public schools. And the high school in my neighborhood is using their school safety plan to help with the suicide prevention and parent education night that's required. Please contact your local board and discuss with your principal for more ideas. Additional council responsibilities include advising and making recommendations to school and district administrators and the local school board, responding to local board requests, providing notice of elections and meetings, and fulfilling the website requirements. On the school website, required 1 week before the meeting, is a notice of the time, place, and date of the meeting. Also, a meeting agenda with action items identified and the draft minutes of the previous meeting. On the school website before October 20th, the website is required to have the member names and contact information so members can be contacted by the community members they represent, and a proposed meeting schedule for the year. This is an example of what that could look like. Also required is a summary of or PDF of the final report for the prior year. This final report summary shows 2 school years, how much was received, and also what was done, and talks about the student improvement that came from these purchases. It's a good example of a summary of a final report. Always required on the school website are the approved minutes for the current school year, a copy of the teacher and student success plan, a statement of opportunities for parents to participate and influence the expenditure of School Land Trust program funds, a chart with the dollar amounts received by the school each year, and rules of order and procedure adopted by the council. The current Rules of Order and Procedure template at schoollandtrust.org is very clear and shows the areas that are required and the blanks that must be filled in as the council discusses and approves the rules. Please make sure that you are annually reviewing your Rules of Order and Procedure to make sure that they continue to suit your council's needs. Appropriate expenditures can now include behavioral interventions as long as they are included as part of an academic goal. There's no longer a limit of $5,000 or 20%. Character and civic education and leadership development is limited to $7,000 total per school and must also be part of an academic goal. Carryover greater than 10% must be explained, and carryover greater than 20% for 2 or more years indicates that a school may not be implementing the plan as approved and that corrective action may be necessary. Please avoid carryover by regularly reviewing the budget and expenditures and amending the plan if needed. An amendment is needed if a funding category is added to a goal or a new goal is added. An amendment is also needed if mid-year you have not spent the money as planned and cannot or will not be able to, or if the council decides not to implement a goal. An amendment is not needed if the items purchased are listed in the "if there is more money" question of the approved plan, or if you're going to spend more money on something that was already approved in the same financial category and the same goal. There are many ways to increase parent involvement in your school community council. On schoollandtrust.org, there are ideas to welcome parents and recruitment documents in English and Spanish. We recommend that your council have a liaison with the parent organization so that they can work together to meet all the school's needs. Also, please use parental expertise on subcommittees and task forces, and seek representation of minority families. Remember that there can be a parent and family component in the plan as long as it addresses the impact on student academic data. Another purpose of school community councils is to increase knowledge and oversight of the school trust lands, the permanent state school fund, and the trustees that manage the land and funds for the beneficiary. School trust lands were given to the state at statehood to make up for the federal government retaining so much land in Utah that could not be taxed. These lands are 4 1-square-mile sections in 36 square mile township and make money by mining, oil and gas extraction, surface development including agricultural leases, solar leases, and telecommunications, and residential, retail, and commercial development. The distribution from the Permanent State School Fund has increased. The Permanent State School Fund is the repository of all funds earned on school trust lands, minus management expenses. The Permanent State School Fund is currently $2.4 billion, and the distribution from the fund has increased from $4.95 million 20 years ago to $88.83 million next year. The trustees that manage the land and fund are the School and Institutional Trust Land Administration and the School and Institutional Trust Fund Office. The Trust Land Administration works to receive revenue from the lands, and the Trust Fund Office invests that revenue prudently so that it will grow. The most important thing to remember is our school trust beneficiaries. Everything we do should be focused on the students and their needs. Thank you for your service on your school community council, and please contact us with any further questions.